Well, the man accused of brutally killing 4 University of Idaho students was back in court today. His attorneys want the death penalty taken off the table.
So they're arguing that Idaho has a history of making a person on death row's final moments even more miserable and that the punishment is too much for the crime. Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa has both sides.
We're just days away from the 2-year observance of this brutal crime and still no trial. But as today's hearing shows, major legal issues remain that could complicate this case even further.
State versus Kohberger.
Bryan Kohberger's attorneys taking aim at the death penalty and asking the court to remove it in his case. Kohberger appeared in court dressed in a suit and tie. He's accused of murdering University of Idaho students Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Gonzalez, and Madison Mogan at an off-campus house on November 13th, 2022. In court, Kohberger's attorneys called the death penalty dehumanizing and asked the court to think about what they called the larger issue.
And that is Idaho's inability to execute somebody at the given time.
Deciding the method of execution is not deciding the sentence. The sentence is death. The method of execution is just how that's brought about.
The defense is referring to the botched execution of Idaho's longest-serving death row inmate, Thomas Creech, that happened in February of this year. Idaho stopped his execution by lethal injection after they couldn't find his vein after 8 tries. The defense also argued in previous planned Idaho executions, the state postponed those executions because they were unable to obtain the necessary chemicals. The director for the Idaho Department of Correction has previously said that's no longer an issue, and they now have the necessary chemicals, as well as a backup option.
Under Idaho law, the method of execution is lethal injection, and if unavailable, then the firing squad.
Execution by firing squad, something Idaho Governor Brad Little signed into law in March of 2023. Kohberger's defense also pointed out that based on Idaho's track record, inmates sit on death row for decades.
I think to have him sit on death row and say, Idaho's going to figure out how to kill you at some point in the future in a way that isn't cruel and unusual and in violation of your rights, I just don't think that the constitutional protections allow that to happen.
So there really is just no evidence whatsoever to suggest that Idaho can't do this. And certainly not that it can't do this decades from now. No matter how you read the numbers, we're not at a place where there is a national consensus that the death penalty is indecent.
After the hours-long hearing and several motions discussed, no final decision was made. And Judge Hippler said he will issue a written decision on this matter at a later date. In the meantime, Kohberger's trial is scheduled to start in August of next year in Boise. In the studio, Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.